Welcome back to PoE everyone, I hope that you guys and gals had a swell weekend, and on today's build video thing, the Arizona Raider with the big iron on her hip, or something like that. We're doing a Phys-only impaling Raider Wander, or a Wanding Raider, whatever floats your boat. But before we begin with the topics at hand, hey, if you are new around here and you enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe on the way out, otherwise a comment and a rating help the channel grow. We are on the road to 500 subbers, and with your help, random viewer, we can achieve that goal. Anyways, let's go back to the scheduled content. And boys and girls, I must admit that I was actually not expecting much out of a Ranger Wander, let alone a Phys-wanding Raider. But hey, it actually went somewhere in the end, and that's why we are here tonight discussing this character. Now, there is one thing to keep in mind. Wanding or projectile attack builds tend to get hell expensive really fast. And it's kinda justified because we want to invest as much as we can into dealing the fat DPS so that mapping and bossing is smooth. The playstyle also demands some extra finger usage because we're gonna be utilizing two skill setups, one for clearing trash and the other for single target. However, it isn't that bad, and with a little bit of practice it becomes easy to manage. So moving on to the character, it's a Raider and we are basking on the frenzy and onslaught goodness that she brings to the table. And we're also going to be focusing on physical damage only, which means we don't really care about anything else, plus with the choices I made, the character zooms through maps, which also elevates her fun factor. Having said that, what does it take to make a Phys-wanding build? Well, the first thing is the very one that you're gonna be using. Acquiring a wand with 300 plus physical DPS is the first step. However, 300 plus physical DPS isn't enough because we also want crit chance in this wand to further our DPS output in practice. Of course, the stronger the rolls on the wand, the better our build will perform. Taking into consideration that we are only dealing physical damage, there really aren't many good mods on ranks that we could possibly want. Yes, we could aim for Phys damage to attacks, and using Redeemer influenced rings, we could also aim for projectile damage alongside the Phys damage, but I decided to try the unorthodox, the unexpected. So because of those ideas, I decided to use two Circle of Guild rings with Herald of Purity reduced mana reservation and Herald of Purity has increased buff effect. Yep, both of them have the same intrinsic mods, but we'll go over those in depth once we talk about the gear. Alongside all of that, we're also going to invest into overusing certain cluster jewel notables, but without spoiling much, let us dig into this build first, and for that the skill tree is next, which looks like this. And now we can talk about the gear. First, we'll go over the wand and the rings since we already saw them. The wand, as said previously, needs to have 300 physical DPS at least, alongside critical strike chance. These wands get expensive real fast, but remember that the more you invest into putting this together, the smoother the character will feel. There are no alternatives to this slot, not even uniques, so keep that in mind. As I said before, the rings are both Circle of Guild with Herald of Purity buff effect and reduced mana reservation. One of them has global accuracy as an implicit and the other one has intelligence. You're gonna need a hefty chunk of brain power to equip the wand, so if you can get similar rings to mine, that'd be optimal. Otherwise, aim to get as high rolls as possible to further help the character's performance. We're also using a shield with life resists and global Phys damage and attack damage. If you can't find a similar one to mine, change one of the offensive mods for either attack speed or increase damage per 1% chance to block attack damage. For the body armor, armor, we want Exploded Chest, aka enemies killed explode dealing 3% of their life as fist damage. Alongside that, we want life and resists. This is mandatory because we have no other way to get rid of undead effect spammers like porcupines. The chest is gonna rid of these pests for us, and it also helps a lot in the clear speed department. Next is the helmet, and this one is special because we're going to need a helmet with power siphon fires 2 additional projectiles. However, a warlord influenced helmet with that mod tends to get expensive really freaking fast, especially considering one that has the mods we want. So what I did was acquire a non-influenced helmet with enchantment and then roll it myself, looking for accuracy, resists, and then I crafted the life. Eventually, I decided to slam it with a Warlord Exile, and I got the extra power charge. However, keep in mind that slamming an open prefix is not guaranteed to roll the power charge. For the amulet, we want one with intelligence, life, global crit multi, and mana if possible. We want an open prefix to craft reduced mana cost of skills, and we're gonna anoint this one with disintegration for more intelligence, 1 crit chance, and crit multi. Moving on to the gloves, they are Tomb Fists with a vulnerability on hit corruption. We only need a single socket on this one, and at the same time try to get the highest life roll. We want to intimidate on hit, and for that we are going to use a Murderous Eye jewel on the socket. That jewel has life, resists, and global crit multi. For the boots, we use bubonic trails. Try to get them with the highest life roll possible, and also with a maximum life corrupted implicit. The jewels on the boots are a searching and a hypnotic eye jewel with life, global crit multi, and a negative fist damage reduction corrupted implicit. The belt is next, and it's a Stygian Vice with triple resists, life, and an open prefix to craft increased damage. The belt houses a ghastly eye jewel which has life, resists, and enemies have negative total fist damage reduction as a corrupted implicit. For flasks, a diamond, a sulfur, and a dying sun. Try to get the dying sun with 30 charges per use at most, so that you get 2 chugs out of it during boss fights. Moving on to the jewels on the tree, we use 2 large cluster jewels with 8 passives at most and 2 jewel sockets. Keep in mind that the large cluster jewels are a nice source of stats that you may be lacking, things like resists, attributes, life, etc. Anyways, the first one has Drive the Destruction for the life leech and deep cuts for an extra impale. The second one has Fuel the Fight for mana leech and deep cuts again for an extra impale. At the same time, we're gonna use 4 medium cluster jewels with 5 passives at most and a single jewel socket. 2 of those medium cluster jewels have Repeater for attack speed and projectile damage, and Eye to Eye for more projectile damage when near enemies. The other 2 cluster jewels have Mob Mentality for the Rage on Warcry, which means that we get 10 Rage on Warcry use, and Provocateur for increased crit chance and crit multi against taunted enemies. We also use a Watcher's Eye with crit multi while affected by precision. You could also go with double damage, attack damage, or extra impales with pride, or attack damage or attack speed with precision. However, you could also mix and match these mods, but that's gonna get expensive real fast. Finally, the other 5 jewels are different enough that I'm not gonna go over them individually, so I'll just put them on screen as I talk. In general, you want increased life, crit multi, intelligence, and any other DPS enhancing stuff that you can get. So that's it for the gear, which means now we can talk about the gem setups. First, on the body we're gonna use Power Siphon linked to Brutality, Awakened Vicious Projectiles, Impale, Maim, and Barrage support. This is the single target setup. Next is the Clearing setup, aka your trash killing setup, which is in the helmet and the gems are Power Siphon, linked to Pierce, Brutality, and Impale. On the gloves we have Herald of Purity, Dread Banner, and Blood Rage. On the boots we have Precision and Pride. On the weapon, Flame Dash linked to Inspiration and Second Wind. Finally, on the shield we have Berserk, Enduring Cry, and Decoy Totem. And that's it for the gems, which means now we can talk about the character. And I won't lie to you, it was kind of sketchy at first. The original plan was to use 2 Circle of Guilds with increased fist damage instead of Herald of Purity buff effect. And the DPS was kinda doo-doo. So I made the changes, slammed the helmet with the Warlord Exalt, and it was smooth sailing from there. Kinda. I died once to Sirius, but it was all good because I still got him on the next portal, as redundant as that sounds. As you see in the gameplay, it was pretty good. Sure, it's not the 17.5 million DPS that the 8 Link Cyclone had, but for a projectile build I think it did pretty good. I'm very happy where the character ends, though I'm pretty sure there are changes that you could make to greatly improve the DPS and the life pool, especially the life pool. However, there is one pressing matter: should you do a similar character or a melee build? While the answer comes down to personal preference, you gotta keep in mind that a character like this requires a lot of currency to feel smooth to play. I know I say that a lot nowadays, but for a projectile build I think that is strictly mandatory. The Wonder playstyle has a price, and it's definitely not very accessible. And even though we're a month away from the next league, that doesn't mean that the gear we need is remotely cheap. As I said before, the more you put into it, the better the character feels. And it's actually okay, because these kinds of characters are very fast mappers, can deal a lot of damage and are a joy to play. So to close down this character, I will just say that for the first wonder on the channel, it did pretty okay. And that's it for the character. For the next one, I'll be reusing some of my gear, as it's custom around here recently. I'm thinking a Tectonic Slam Assassin with the Saber and a Paradoxica. It may work, it may not, but you'll have to tune in next time to find out. And with that said, I'm out. I wanna thank you guys and gals for watching tonight's video. If you're new around here and you aren't subscribed yet, consider doing so. Your support is greatly appreciated. Otherwise, a rating and a comment help getting the video spread out to other potential viewers, which is also great. Anyways, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you again with more PoE stuff soon. Take care, have a nice rest of your week, and peace out.